are the master of your fate and the keeper of your stars. So be proud of who you are, strive for what you believe in, be proud of who you are as a Native American. I have been told before that we are not promised tomorrow. I'm not afraid of losing tomorrow because I see 79 reasons why we are promised tomorrow sitting on the stage right here. We are tomorrow. We are your future. We are the class of 2001.
Paris Indian School, the only Bureau of Indian Affairs off-reservation boarding school in California, was established in Paris, California in 1892 with Mr. M.H. Savage as superintendent. Mr. Harwood Hall, superintendent from 1897 to 1909, convinced Congress to support the construction of new facilities in Riverside. James Schoolcraft Sherman, chairman of Indian Affairs for the House of Representatives and later Vice President of the United States under Taft, led Congress to authorize $75,000 on May 31, 1900. The new school was named Sherman Institute in his honor. The cornerstone was laid with appropriate ceremonies July 18, 1901, on a 40-acre plot facing Magnolia Avenue. They dedicated the grounds, the buildings, and the ideals that were to grow about this cornerstone to the high calling of education for Indian youth. The following speech was read at the dedication.
Ladies and gentlemen, the building to be erected here will stand for the redemption of a race. Its purpose will be to enable the Indian, who can no longer exist in a wild state, to meet the requirements of modern progress and to appreciate and secure for himself the best there is in our civilization. This building will be erected for the glory of God. He is our Father and the Father of all races of mankind. He has taught us the brotherhood of man and has brought home to both individuals and nations their responsibility for the care of others. Therefore, on behalf of the Indian whose best interest this school is intended to subserve, on behalf of the government to the generous purpose of which this school will ever bear witness, and the name of and the glory of the great God whom we all serve, I declare the cornerstone of the Sherman Institute to be duly laid.
The first class consisted of 18 Pima and several Mission Indians. By 1908, Sherman had a capacity of 550 students and 34 buildings on campus. Education was limited to grades 1 to 8 at that time. In 1916, students were enrolled in grades 1 through 10, and in 1926, the Institute became a high school with an average enrollment of 1,000.
My name is Monica Arce Archuleta, and my grandfather, Dan Arce, and his brothers and sister came to Sherman Institute back in 1901 when it first opened, and they were here until the records state March 1st, 1913.
My name is Susie Perry Kalak. I came here in 1927, and I spent all my years here in Sherman, which was my home. I enjoyed everything of it, even though sometimes I sewed carpet rags.
My name is Gobert Maharo, and I first come to school in 1939. And I was supposed to graduate in 44, but I went in the Navy in 43. And lucky they let us veterans come back, so I come back in 46 and I graduated in 47. And I remember this plaque when we put it there. Just like Lester, you know, her mother went to school there when she was, what, 9 or 11? Stayed till she was 18. She was in 9, and then she left when she was 18, 19.
They took her off the reservation there and had her go to school here for 11 years before they even sent her home.
Yeah.
By that time, she didn't even know her parents. You lost out on all that love and affection.
In the early days, attendance at Sherman Institute often was not voluntary. Children were taken from their homes for their own good and frequently were unable to return home for many years.
Bureau of Indian Affairs came to our house and asked my mother how many children she had. And she proceeded in telling them, and they took the oldest ones. There was 5 of them that they came to school. Then my mother brought me here thinking maybe that I could get a little more education, and I didn't like it. I stayed about, I would say about a month, and then I ran off. When I went by bus, I got real smart and learned how to run the bus line. And Mom and Dad said, see, that's what you get for leaving her some money. We shouldn't have left her any money. That way she couldn't have come home.
I'm Muriel Muta Cole, and I went to Sherman in 1927, started in the 1st grade, and I graduated in 1939 from the 12th. And when we came from New York. At the time when I came, they had the 1st grade. And then every year after that, they would cut down 1 grade right behind me. So I think they stopped at the 7th grade. So I can say that I'm the only one that ever went to Sherman for 12 years. And I never went home in the summer because my home was too far away.
In the fall of 1927, a farm agent came from the Bishop Indian Reservation and informed my aunts and uncles in Benton that they were there to take the older children, over 10, to a boarding school, vocational boarding school for Indian children in Riverside, California. It was a common practice to take, for the federal government at that point, to take the children away from the reservations, to civilize and to assimilate them into the mainstreams. It would be a good 13 years before I returned home to visit and to live, except for a brief visit when I escorted the body of a dead cousin in a coffin who had died from tuberculosis back to Bishop for burial. Now, that to me was a very, very traumatic thing.
From the moment they arrived, students were immersed in the discipline, uniformity, and routine of the school. Students were prohibited from speaking native languages, wearing native dress, or practicing native culture. Military discipline was the rule.
My name is Francis. I used to be Francis Morongo. Oh gosh, every Sunday we'd have marched for Mr. Compton. And he'd sit out there like a big shot, you know. We'd have to march, and certain time you have to look that way. When you're marching, you had to keep the time too. You see why we had to go like this to Mr. Compton. I was here during the time we wore uniforms. We had officers. We marched by the band.
Let's give another round of applause for the
and everything was
OPs.
Military.
Excellent.
You got
excellent.
up by a bell, and you went to bed by a bell, and up by the horn, and
this next group we have coming up
we
is
were busy.
a combination of
And I
Sherman Indian
enjoyed
High School
working
choir,
through all the departments
along with,
we had. I was
another
here
group
so
that I've
long
had the privilege of,
that I was able to
working
work
with,
through all the departments.
called the Rainbow Kids.
And
so we're going to do a couple
I
of numbers for
graduated
you right
then
now.
in 1935. Then got lonesome for Sherman, came back and worked 23 years and retired from here. And I enjoyed all of it.
You had roll call?
Yeah.
When my mother came here, they wore uniforms too. They had to march to breakfast, march to lunch, and very strict.
In the early years, it was felt that American Indians needed to be trained in the skills and values of the mainstream American society. Students were put into schedules that emphasized vocational trades more than academic achievement. Student labor and the sale of products of student labor were critical to keep the school going year to year.
My name is Melita Lemos, and I was a student here in Sherman when it was known as Sherman Institute. I was Romero then. When I was attending school, it was so different here. We had a farm, the hospital, and a laundry and a kitchen, and we all were put on schedule. My favorite one was working in the farm. I learned to milk a cow, and that was a lot of fun. During the time that we were milking cows, the boys used to come in and throw rocks at us on the back, and we were just a bunch of girls working. We kind of decided among ourselves that the next time they came in, we would make friends with them and allow them to come close to us. And when they did, and they were trying to see what we were doing, we turned around and some of us squirted the boys with milk. And of course, you know, that was a lot of fun. And of course, you know, they kind of stopped coming around to see us a little bit. I think they learned their lesson. Another fun time was when I got a touch of the measles, and I was put in the hospital. And they had the big dance for that evening, and there were 3 of us girls. We decided we wanted to go to the dance. And we were up in the 2nd story, and we tied our sheets together, and we tied them to the leg of the bed, and we all slid down, and we went to the dance. And we snuck in there, and we danced a little bit until my sister spotted me. And she knew that I was in the hospital, so she comes right up to me, and she says, "What are you doing? Why are you here?" And I said, "I want to dance. I love to dance." And she said, "No, you're not. You're sick. You better go back to the hospital." We had the gentlemen, they were like kind of policing the place, and I guess she went and told them that I had been sick and I needed to be in the hospital, and they took us back to the hospital. But it was fun. We got to dance for about an hour. All 3 of us, of course, were in detention for running away from the hospital, but it was fun.
My grandfather and his brothers and sister were brought here to learn trades and to work with on the farm and learn agriculture. They were forcibly brought to the school from the ranch and enrolled here. My grandfather would talk to us about being close to the earth, and the only good thing he got out of the school, besides learning a little bit of reading and writing, was how to cultivate. Yeah. He learned through some of the negative things to be a better person and to be a very hard worker.
My name is James M. Archuleta, and I'm here to talk about my father, Santiago Archuleta. My father was here at Sherman in 1926 and 27, and I think 28. At that time it was a vocational school. He graduated from Sherman as a blacksmith. He used to ask me to come bring him to the school in the 50s when I had my first car. And we would come to the school, and after one visit, he was very sad. He says they changed the buildings and they took down my bell. When he was a blacksmith, he created a bell that they would ring to announce time for classes. And so he would come over here periodically to come and check his bell. But when they took the shop building down and they took the bell down, he says, "I'm not coming back here no more."
One of the unique aspects of the vocational program was called outing. Teen boys and girls were placed in rural farms and middle-class urban homes to work as farm hands and domestic servants.
The girls were taught to be domestic servants and seamstresses. The boys were taught to do shop work and to be ranch hands. My summers were spent working as a domestic in homes away from the school. I worked in homes in Los Angeles and Pasadena during those years because I was never able to go home on my own. I recall once overhearing the school outing matron. She was the matron of the school that arranged for the students to go out and work in the summer in the different communities. And this is what I heard. Quote, well, that is what they all are good for, only to clean other people's homes and toilets, unquote.
In 1946, the desperate need for education among the Navajos was answered by a special program at Sherman. In October 1946, 350 young people between the ages of 12 and 20 were brought from the Navajo reservation and enrolled to begin the Navajo program. This program continued for more than 15 years.
My name is Esther Levi. After I finished my high school, got to Riverside, and one of the matrons met me, and that was Miss Baca. She said, and you're assigned to take care of the little girls in Minnehaha home. During that time, they had this 5-year program. It was mostly Navajo children there. We worked together, Miss Baca and I, so it worked out pretty well. And I kind of liked the job, because I had to interpret, those, and some of them, I used to feel sorry for little ones. Some of them are homesick, they cry at night, and I had to talk to them. And but they get over their loneliness. I had to take them to the movies, the weekends, and then take them to the parties. If they have parties at different places, and to the libraries, to some of the small girls. They are teaching how to check out books and stuff like that.
My name is Tonita Largo Glover, and I'm Fort Sill Apache and Kauai. I grew up on this campus. My mother was a teacher for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. She was teaching for 40 years throughout the whole Navajo and To'ono and Pima and Hopi nations. And my mother had a bad experience with boarding schools all her life. And she said her children were not going to go to boarding schools. So we transferred out here in 1951, and at that time it was known as Sherman Institute. And it was in the Navajo program. My mother got a teacher with non-English speaking Navajo students that were of the ages of 15 to 22, maybe 23. They were older students. She worked with an interpreter. And my sister, my brother and I, we went to school in the public schools.
Sherman has become a second home to most of the students and staff. This is where their friends are. They become a second family. This is why it's so hard to leave and why so many come back to visit, to work, and to send their own children.
My name is Lester Wilson. In 1940, I came to Sherman, and I went to school from 40 to 43, went in the Navy for 3 years and came back in fall of 46 and graduated in the spring of 47. And then we keep coming back. But one thing though I'm happy about, that they're letting these native kids do their own dancing and stuff, and they're not real strict about that. So that's one thing I'm happy about.
We're like a big family. We all school together. We kind of bonded together.
Because these palm trees were noted for social hour. That's where you get the couples that hide behind the trees and hug and kiss.
Hey, you didn't have this house.
Tell it like it is.
Yeah, but you had to do that before 7 o'clock.
Yeah, but, yeah, but Gil, you had a partner. All of us other guys, we didn't.
Well, you guys wanted them all.
We were just slow, that's all.
I remember the trees. Well, everybody had their own tree in it.
When I attended school, my name was Susie Northrup. I am now Susie Camacho. I'm Hopi from Kemotsmovi. I started in 1971. I was 13. Sherman gave me opportunities and experience that I wouldn't have had at home. I was with my friends 24/7. I missed my mother on Christmas and summer and the holidays, but I enjoyed Sherman. I loved being here. It was so much fun. My brothers and sisters were here, so I didn't feel alone. And I was in my own little world here, and my brothers and sisters were real popular, and I wasn't well known as them because I was a good one and they were the popular ones. My 4th year here, I started and then took a little trip. I went AWOL, what they call AWOL, and out of embarrassment I didn't return. We had Navajo Club, Hopi Club, and each individual club raised their funds and went on their field trips, and they had their art displays. And what I see nowadays, that they have a whole art center, you know, which I think is great.
My name is Leroy H. Miranda, Jr. I'm from the Pauline Reservation. I graduated in 1986. When I first got here, I got sick and got homesick, and I wanted to leave, and, you know, I wouldn't eat the food, you know, and I shriveled up, and, you know, and they're just like, you know, I just want to go home. But once I passed that, you know, with the inspiration of the women here, or the young girls, so truly Sherman molded me to be who I am today. You know. But I had a couple girlfriends up here, and, you know, oh my God, I had a Havasu Patchy or something. She was a twin, she was cute. But my true love, I found love with this Ute woman. She took my heart away. We used to be good friends, and we would laugh and joke all the time. And you know, she came to my reservation and never left. And we've been together ever since. We have 2 children, and we talk about how Sherman was and how it was for us. And we're thinking about sending our daughter up here just to experience what we have experienced.
I came here in '83, my first time away from home. I never spent a night away from home, you know, anywhere. And this is my first time coming down here. I remember when I first got here, it happened to be on a weekend. My mother was chaperoning a bunch of us that came down. And as we walked, pulled in, we got off, and as we were walking down with our luggage, all we saw was these, you know, the kids that were just wild, running, walking all over, jumping in and out the windows. My mom looked at me and says, "Are you sure you want to go to school?" And I was like, "Yes," but inside I was scared and I didn't want to admit it. So we came down and got myself in the dorm, and we went to go eat supper. I was so scared that we sat down and ate, and then all of a sudden someone threw peas or something in the air, and I thought they were throwing it at me. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna get in a fight. Somebody don't like me here. But after that, I found a few of my friends that I went to elementary school with back home up in Utah. And after that, I just enjoyed it. Told my mom I was never gonna get in trouble, and she could trust me, and all, you know, sugar-coated it and everything. And she got on the bus the next day, went back home. Little did she know, she got those reports on conducts. My mom and dad also went to a boarding school. They went to Stewart, and they always talked about it stuff. And, you know, I guess they had an idea what it was really like. And when I told them I wanted to go, they told me straight out no. So I threw a tantrum for 1 whole year. 1 whole year I threw a tantrum until they signed that paper so I could come down here. During lunchtime, if we didn't like the last 2 classes that we had to go to, they'd jump the fence, and, you know, wouldn't even go to class, and never got caught.
Yeah, but we got a lot of conducts.
Yeah,
though.
we got a lot of conducts for missing our missing bed checks or whatever.
We had so many hours that we had to make up before we even junior high. I mean, when we're juniors.
My name is Victor Van Fleet. I'm from Fort Mojave. I first came here in 1969. Just a lot of cousins that came here, and I wanted to come here, and came here for 4 years. To me, it was kind of like my first home, because I have a lot of brothers and sisters. It was the first place I had my own bed. Got to eat 3 times a day. I mean, a lot of meat, milk, a lot of food, and a lot of friends, just so many friends. Basketball, baseball, track, did it all. I came back in 1979, I believe. They asked me if I'd like to go to work here, and I came back and I got a job here till 1984. But in that time, I was here too. My daughters were born in the Riverside General Hospital, so they kind of like grew up here as babies, and they all wanted to come back to Sherman here.
I'm Leela Van Fleet. I'm 18. I'm half Bahamikov and half a Nubiak, from Mojave and Alaskan. I remember being a little girl, lost, crying, but as I grew older, I've heard stories of me running around, being a little wild girl. Then I've always seen my sisters and brothers come here. You know, all my cousins been, so that was my dream, my goal to come here, because it's my second home. Because I've got a lot of friends, have enormous amount of relatives that come, and the staff and the teachers are really nice. They got respect for you. They don't treat you as other people. They treat you like their own families.
I'm Candelaria Brown. I'm Hopi Pima from Second Mesa, Arizona, but I'm now living on the Hill River Reservation. I went to school here from 1995 to 1999. Actually, we're here to support my sister. She was with Sherman 2000, 2001, so we came here to support her when she was giving up her crown at the powwow. My family has been coming here for years. My mother and my father actually graduated from here. And so as I was growing up, I already knew that I was going to come to Sherman. It was like a family tradition, I guess you would call it, to come to Sherman.
Student body government at Sherman Institute was started in 1938. The first president was Joseph Sepulveda. The Student Council is centered in two separate bodies, the House of Representatives and the Cabinet, which function under a constitution.
Today's council, known as the Intertribal Council, consists of approximately 11 officers representing the different tribes and classes on campus.
Well, my name is Michael Preston. I'm Akimel Alton from the Hill River Indian Reservation. I was very quiet before I came here. I wasn't really outgoing. I was into my academics, which was good, but there's a lot more, I think, into the world than just academics. Coming here really opened up my eyes and got me more vocal, and especially being on ITC, got me being in all these vocal positions where I had to be speaking to all these different adults and everyone else. So that's what I think started getting me prepared. And then when I went home, I got involved with my own youth council, and then they're the one who supported me and got me to run for the national council. And then in doing that, I got all these opportunities and all these doors open for me. I got a personal invitation from the White House to go meet the president on a youth summit. I just got to travel a lot and meet a lot of people and network with a lot of successful Native Americans, which is really different from growing up where you don't see as many successful Indians. And so there's really good opportunities, and I believe a lot of it started from the high school where I came here.
Throughout its history, Sherman Indian School has had a strong sports program. Many record holders have come from this school, and participation in sports has always held a key place in the hearts of Sherman alumni.
My name is Omar Davis. I'm a computer science teacher here at Sherman Indian High School. So I teach computer literacy, a leadership class, and I also teach a web page design class. I'm the assistant coach for the varsity basketball team, and I was the head coach of the JV football team.
My name is Robin Roulette. I'm Shawnee Delaware and Lakota. Now I'm back. I'm still at Sherman. Now I drive the bus. I go to all the basketball games, and I play sports myself. I'm driving the same bus I rode as a student.
1981. That's the JV team right there. We had very strong teams. We won all of our games.
I pretty much played varsity basketball. I ran cross country, but I only did that just to stay in shape for basketball season.
I'm Elfrida Brown. I'm Hopi and Pima. I was born and raised from Second Mesa, Arizona. I came here in 1999, my freshman year. I play in a varsity team. I've led her 2 times now.
This is the pep squad. It was the support of our team, and we raised funds, and we got jackets and little caps, and we supported our team. We went wherever they went and cheered for them and gave them their moral support.
Music has always played an important part in school life. The band marched in parades, performed at outside events, and added to the enjoyment of life at Sherman Institute.
My name is Robert Levi. I'm of the Cahuilla Indian tribe. My reservation is the Torres Martinez. I came to Sherman in the year of 1937. I must have been 16 or 17. I came here because I wanted to come. But after a couple of months, I realized that there was music to be studied and had here. So that's what I enjoyed mostly about it, was learning to play musical instruments. Ever since I was a little kid, when I'd see a band go by or orchestra play someplace, I was right there listening. I'd like to play that, I'd like to play that, you know, just wishing. And when I came to Sherman, but the thing I liked about the school here was their open door to music, because they would leave the band room open. I mean, they trusted all the kids not to steal the instruments or whatever. But anytime you wanted to learn an instrument of some kind, the doors were always open, and somebody was there to tell you about this instrument or that instrument. I played the baritone horn in the band, saxophone in the orchestra, English horn in the symphony orchestra. The first year I was here, Santa Fe sponsored us to go to the World's Fair, not World's Fair, and Treasure Island in San Francisco. So the band went up there and stayed for a whole week playing concerts. My band director, his name was Patty Miguel. He was part Pachon and Cahuilla. He was a good musician. When I got to be a pretty good player, I thought I was good, you know. He came up to me one time and said, "This is one thing I will never forget." He said, "Don't you ever think you're too good?" He said, "Because there's always somebody that's better than you are." Which is true.
Special programs and performances have always been a high point of life at Sherman. In the early days, patriotic and religious pageants and plays were performed by the students. In more modern times, campus programs include the annual talent show, the Miss Sherman pageant, and the annual Sherman Intertribal Powwow.
The first year was there, one of the teachers said, we're looking for a young lady. They were putting on the nativity program, and they wanted the girl to be Mary. And somebody recommended me, so I was in the nativity play that year as Mary. And a lot of employees participate in there, and they turn out pretty good. The nativity play, they have a live sheep and a live everything on the stage. It was pretty good.
From the 1950s through the 70s, Sherman held an annual Indian Days celebration with the selection of an Indian prince and princess. Indian Days was an opportunity to invite the outside public to share in an awareness of Sherman's intertribal cultures. In 1986, with the beginning of the Intertribal Powwow, the Miss Sherman pageant incorporated cultural presentations as part of the criteria for selection. Miss Sherman then reigns over the Intertribal Powwow and represents the school throughout the year at other school activities and outside events.
I was nominated by the PEP. I was on a PEP squad, and they nominated me. You have to be involved in extra after-school activities. We did fundraising to pay for the gowns and stuff like that. I didn't get Miss Sherman, but it was a different experience. It was the first time I've ever worn a formal.
Well, I ran last year. I competed against other girls, and I just had to do. I had to go through the whole pageant thing. I ran. Let's see, I did a speech, a traditional performance. Basically, that was it. Where my points came from, and then at the end, I won. Then during my reign, I went to powwows. I met a lot of people from all over, and that was my way of showing, representing my school. There's different kind of ways that you can represent as Miss Sherman. You could go to schools and speak to them about drugs and things like that, but I've attended a lot of powwows. I get there in time for grand entry to stand with the royalty, come with royalty, and I represent as I go around the circle while they're singing. Of course, I walk with my head held high.
This is my shawl, and I donated it to the Sherman Museum. It was presented to me at this powwow. It's our first annual. A young man by the name of Victor Begay, Navajo young man, but he and I were the ones that originated the first powwow here at Sherman High School. At the time, I believe the principal was Mr. Joe Frazier. And we fought to get this on.
Sherman, student body. Class 2001 senior class.
The teachers at Sherman High School play a significant role in the lives of the students. They are the ones who open the doors to the wider world, who inspire, support, and guide the growth of knowledge while encouraging Native expression. Teachers at Sherman are also given an education in a segment of life that might have been unknown to them without their experience here.
There was one teacher, his name was Robert Levi Jr. I was in his history class and he taught 3 concepts. And I thought that was really interesting because he taught, there's the non-Indian way. Well, I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. He goes, the non-Indian way is the history of California and the history of America and all that stuff. He said, this is what we have to teach you in the text. And then he goes, this is our own history, Indian history, that you will not read in the text and you will not see. He goes, I'm going to teach you our history, so you'll learn. When he did that, it kind of put more fire into the hunger I wanted to know about the history. Before it was really boring, now it became intriguing.
I got married and had my children, and I decided I wanted to come back to here and work with Indian people. Started working here in 1969. We lived on the campus, and I worked from there, job to job, on campus. Counselor's aide, teacher's aide, name it. Teacher substitute. Did that for 13 weeks one time. Teaching math, believe it or not. That was a nightmare. That was a total nightmare. But I did it. And I tried to base my job with the students on a traditional and cultural, because I felt it was needed. I felt it was very needed, as well as higher education, but still, I didn't want them to forget about their heritage. And I tried to bring in traditional ways to them, which a lot of them I felt had lost.
So Sherman was really good. They taught me a lot, and with that, I was able to get on the ambassador program, Native American ambassadors, and travel everywhere. I was able to talk about some of the cultures I learned here and share my knowledge in that point.
I'm Irvin Seidel, and my wife and I began our career with the Bureau of Indian Affairs back in 1966 on the Pine Ridge Reservation. When I arrived here at Sherman, they were in the middle of the building phase of our present buildings. Someone had determined that the original 3- and 4-story Spanish-style buildings were not earthquake-proof. I was hired as the supervisor for the vocational programs, and at that time Sherman had just recently moved into being a full comprehensive high school, and the major concentration at that time was to get accredited teachers that were certified by the state of California. This past year has been the independent study for our students that were older, who it was determined at the present rate would not graduate because they would run out of time because of their age. And this year's graduating class of 2001, almost 50% of those students graduating came out of the PASS program, the independent study program.
My name is Sister Mary Yarder. I'm from Paula. My family is Luiseño. My great-grandfather was from Paula, and my grandmother is from La Jolla. I have been at Sherman Indian High School for 6 years. I teach freshman science. We have an integrated science program that gives the students a little bit of biology, a little bit of chemistry, a little bit of physics, and a little bit of earth space science for a 2-year requirement. And I teach just the freshmen. I teach the smart ones, freshmen. I have family that went here. My grandmother was here from the very beginning. I have a paper that has she and her sister as the 1901 members of the 1901 guitar and mandolin group or club, and we still have her mandolin from those days. And my grandfather, well, she continued here and taught music, and then my grandfather was here and he taught harness making and shoe repair. And we have his business card that proclaims his as the finest leather craftsman in Indian service. So it's a great honor to do that.
I'm Mariana Taylor, and I've been at Sherman for 29 years. I am retiring this year after, I feel, a successful career. I came to Sherman in 1967, and then I left for a period of time in 1977 and returned in 1982. I was the first one to start a cultural program here, which probably sounds strange. But back in the 1970s, I was encouraged to start a program called Native American Literature. And I was encouraged by a Pawnee who encouraged me to do the reading and to get the information and to start a program in Native American literature. So I did. And we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun in that class. And that was the start of our cultural program. After I was gone for a while and I returned, they had now instituted tribal government, Native cultures. Miss Sisquoc became part of a program in beadwork, in native crafts, native herbs and healing, and they got involved in sweat lodge, activities that did not exist before. And it makes the students whole. I firmly believe in it. It makes them whole. They not only are learning the white man's way of doing things, but also saying, my way's good too. I'll take the best of both. And that's what, for the 20 some odd years, the 30 years I've been here, to take the best from both. Put it together. Become your own unique individual.
The Sherman Museum is housed in the original administration building of Sherman Institute. It was built in 1901 to 1902 and was officially opened as a museum on Indian Day, September 1970. The founders were Noel D. Scott, past superintendent, Ned D. Robitzer, plant engineer, and Mr. Judson M. Bradley, retiring Sherman printing instructor. On October 20th, 1974, the Sherman Museum was designated as Riverside Cultural Heritage Landmark number 16. It was entered into the National Register of Historic Places on January 9th, 1980.
My name's Laureen Sisquoc, and I'm Fort Sill Apache and Mountain Kauai from Riverside County area. I was born and raised here at Sherman Indian High School. My mother's mother, Ida Largo, taught here from about 1951 until she retired in 1967. So at that time when I was born, we lived on the campus. In 1985, I started volunteering here at our school museum under the curator, Mrs. Ramona Bradley, and trained under her as her assistant. And then in 1991, I took over as the volunteer curator of the museum and have been here ever since. And this year, 2001, I accepted the position of cultural traditional leader and curator of the museum, and which I think that's the first time any such position has been created, at least at this school I know. It's to run the cultural programs and teach Native traditions to the students.
The intertribal ceremony the night before graduation is a unique experience. It brings the school years into sharp focus, allowing each student to express gratitude to those who have helped along the path. It also gives each student an opportunity to demonstrate connection to his tribe by wearing Native dress and perhaps offering a performance of Native culture. In 1990, at the request of the California Indian tribes, the jurisdiction of Sherman Indian School passed from the Phoenix area office to the Sacramento office of the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
Hi, my name is Patty Dixon, and I'm a Pamaluseño Indian from San Diego, California. I've been the school board president, I think this is my 6th year. I've been on the school board for about 10 years. I'm one of the 2 California representatives. Back in the early 70s, they brought the Sherman School Board back to California and put it in Sacramento area office, and part of the negotiations was that California would be guaranteed 2 representatives, so I represent the South. I think Sherman's going to go and do great things. I think it's been improving over the years. I think the dedication of the staff, the students we get here, many of them may come with certain kinds of problems, but their eagerness to learn makes it a positive place. I think once more California Indians start coming back to Sherman, It gives them greater diversity of Indian contact. It's a place where true pan-Indianism can take place, where they can develop the emotional contacts they need to make it through their teenage years, but even better yet, hopefully, if they leave and become tribal leaders, they're going to know Indians all over the country. It's a networking process that will build for a bigger, better, stronger Indian nation and Indian communities. So I think Sherman can only be pluses, but it takes work. It takes a lot of work.
We didn't have that many seniors on our team, actually, so we have a lot of returning classmen. So I look forward to next year. We should have a real good basketball team. Starting next year, I'm going to be teaching a basketball class, and we're going to be practicing the whole year during the last period of the day. So that's what a lot of these good schools have been doing for years, but we're finally catching on. And we have a lot of returning basketball players that are going to be stars next year. They were stars this year, so next year I'm pretty sure we're going to win the championship. And I just can't wait for it to start. I wish it would start today.
I want to wish success to Sherman and thank the school, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, for the opportunity that it granted to me as a young person who was basically seeking my way too. An opportunity to grow, to learn, and to experience life, if nothing more, and to give me a whole approach to the world. Thank you, Sherman.
I know everyone on the stage will have fond memories of Sherman Indian High School. Now we'll be going on to the real world to start a new one. When you leave the school, you take with you a greater knowledge than which comes from within this. The most powerful thing we will take with us through our struggle of life is native pride. If we can be strong and proud of who we are, we can survive any battle that we might be faced with. And to the class of 2001, we did it. And congratulations to everyone who will walk across the stage. Thank you. Paul Redtail Gilmore.
You guys, we all made it. You guys can now turn your tassels. I'd like to present to you the class of 2001.
At the end of the school year, this song right here is to make the students and people cry, you know. It's when you understand something that does that to you. Beneath Sierra mountains high, crested peaks of snow, here waves the purple and the gold at the foot of Ruby Blue, whose cross on high against the sky our talisman shall be. In hours of strife all through our life will bring sweet thoughts of thee. In hours of strife all through our lives will bring sweet thoughts of thee. Oh Sherman, dear Sherman, we never shall forget the golden haze of student days which clings about us yet. These happy days will soon be o'er, but through